Hello, a very, very warm welcome, a very good evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. So amazing to have you here once more. I am just looking at all the wonderful comments and people saying hi from all over the world, from Australia, from California, from all parts of England, the UK. Fabulous, fabulous. It's so nice to have you all here. Today is, for me, a very, very exciting broadcast because I'm going to talk about something that's so very, very, very close to my heart. But it's also at the very center of the Reiki revolution. It really brings all the things together that what this broadcast is all about. I hope you, well, enjoy it is not the right word. Well, I hope you find it interesting. I hope you find it thought-provoking, but I very, very, very much hope also that it is inspirational. Inspirational in a way that we all do more action. We just can't carry on waiting. When we look at what's going on in the world, when we look at politics, when we look one government going out, one government coming in, and I'm not commenting on what is happening in the UK at present, but one sometimes wonders what the ideas are behind going into politics and how to make not just this country, but the world a better place, because this really is what politics should be doing. This is why we're here. This is why we need revolution. And I see people joining from all over Europe, which is amazing. It's just so wonderful to really group together and to support each other and to realize we are all human beings. But we are also human beings who have discovered something very, very special. Our individual connection to the universe that Reiki helps us to establish. And this is just something mind-blowing and life-changing. Talking about life-changing, we have, as you know, or we are still kind of in the process of changing the Reiki Academy in London to the new place called Reiki Science Academy. And under the banner of Reiki Science, we are doing much more work in the future. The idea is to have a proper scientific view on what we are doing. And when we get a message from the spirit world, of course, that's very scientific because we are getting something. And then we use the scientific approach to verify it. Where is it coming from? Is it clear? Does it make sense in my life? Can I verify things? Can I possibly even verify where this is coming from? All this is very, very important. What we are doing is a science. It is a way to understand the world, to understand the universe, and to understand our lives. And this is what science is, well, supposed to do. This is what science is all about, to understand what's out there, to find similarities, to find data, to find the structure, to find the laws, the ideas on which things are built, and then again, how to bring this all together and to understand more deeply how the world functions. And of course, based on that, to find new ways of utilizing technology, of utilizing ideas, of utilizing what nature gives us. There have been many research projects, well, at least quite a few research projects already. Over the last, I'd say, 20, 25 years, there were well over 100 papers published in peer-reviewed journals, often in clinical settings, but many of them have problems. It's great that they're there. But there are two key problems with most of these surveys or of these research projects. One is that the numbers of the people who take part are not very big. It does make a difference whether you have 5 or 10 people taking part or 100 or 500. So to basically give it a broader appeal and make it more verifiable, we need to reach more people with a research project. And the second is, and this is something that's really interesting, that is very, very often overlooked. In many, many of these research projects, it is not asked what kind of training people had. They say, I do Reiki, and they have some kind of certification. But when we understand Reiki as a system that was created by Mikao Usui, and understand that what really keeps the system together and keeps the integrity of the system is the personal lineage that every Reiki practitioner has to, well, going back from teacher to teacher to teacher through all the attunements to Mikao Usui. And this is why we know and how we can guarantee that the connection, that the energy is the same. This is something that is not always verified. And of course, there are now many systems, and I don't want to in any way kind of devalue them, but there are so many systems now that are called Reiki that have got nothing to do with Mikao Usui, and we just don't know what exactly they are doing. And I'm sure there are many fantastic systems within this. There are many fantastic healing or energy healing systems, but they all work differently. So if you really want to evaluate what Reiki is doing, we need to we need to understand and categorize what Reiki really is. And once we say it is the Usui system of Reiki that we are practicing, then it needs to be guaranteed that the people taking part in this research have learned that. Or learned that among other modalities, but at least it needs to be there, an attunement that goes back to a lineage that goes directly to Mikao Usui. And I think that's really, really important, because otherwise we will not be taken seriously. And of course, we know how incredibly powerful Reiki is, and this is why we want to bring it more and more into the world. So I would like to therefore invite you to take part in a research project that we as the Reiki Science Academy are working on at present. It's going to be a very simple survey, just asking before and after questions. But as far as I'm aware, for the first time ever, we are not asking how people feel before or after a treatment, but what learning Reiki has changed for people. And this is a project that we'll be rolling out over the next few weeks. And it would be amazing if you could spare a few minutes. It will probably take about probably 3 minutes, maybe even less, to just tick some boxes. It's all anonymized, so you can just send it back. It's not traceable who filled these forms in, but we'll ask what people learned and what stages they're on their journey with Reiki, and then how it changed their lives. And just imagine, we get numbers and figures, and we can put them on Facebook and on the websites and on YouTube, and people read that it has this dramatic, beautiful, positive change, and of course then want to explore it more for themselves. This is the whole idea. This is the whole idea behind the Reiki revolution. It's not revolutionizing the world with Reiki. It is reaching hundreds of thousands, reaching millions of people, millions of more people with Reiki, so that they find their own connection to the love, the purity, the harmony, the balance, the healing power of the universe. And of course, the confirmation, the experiences we get through this, that we are connecting to something that is eternal, that is beyond the limitations of the three-dimensional experience. That is the idea, and this is why today the show is about reincarnation, about the idea of reincarnation, about some kind of practical tips. And I would like to, I probably talk a lot about myself because that is, I just know myself best. And I know all the stories, and they are true because I've been through them. So I just want to take you a little bit on the journey that I have been on my path of discovering the idea of reincarnation, what it really means, and how it can change our perception of life. But we go further, because there are different takes on that. One is to say, we just come back again and again and again, and that's the end of the affair. Or we say, well, we can actually change something. We can learn from what we have experienced so far, and can make coming back for future generations, and for us when we come back in the future, make that a more positive, loving experience. When I came to the idea of reincarnation, that was before I even got to Reiki. That was about 20 years or so ago. I went through this really difficult time in my life where I went through a bankruptcy, lost everything, and basically my whole world fell apart. And I went to a, you may know the story from my book already, but I'm still telling it because it's just so important. It is in more detail in my book, Proof of Reiki, Proof of Eternity. So during that time, a friend of mine invited me for a reading with a psychic medium, and I had no idea what that was. So she took me to this beautiful place in central London, the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain, and there was this very normal guy in his, I would say, late 50s, around 60 or so, and he just sat there, broadly smiling, very nice, very interesting southwestern accent. And as soon as I came in, he started telling me things. He didn't ask any questions. He just told me things about people he saw around me, people who were in the spirit world. And he had, just as remarkably many people do, this very, very special ability to communicate, to sense them, to see them, and to even get names. And he told me that there were lots of people around me who seemed to be teachers. And that was very interesting because so many of my grandparents, great-grandparents, and so were teaching. And he said there were also musicians and actors. And basically, I don't recall any other jobs from my father's side of the family, apart from either being teachers or being actors or musicians. So that was quite interesting. And then he gave me a name. He said, there is somebody who is kind of a relative, but not a very close relative. So not a blood relative or so. And he holds his chest. I think he wants to tell me that he died from a lung condition. And then he said, does the name Alfred mean anything to you? And I did indeed have an uncle called Alfred, who married into the family. So he was not a blood-related relative. And he died from a lung condition. And that changed a lot for me. This was just, it took really a lot of time to fully process that, but it just completely made sure that I accepted that death is not the end of it. One could argue that one lives and then one simply just doesn't, well, we die physically, but then we just go on the other side and we just live on the other side. It's like being here in a life and then we are in heaven on the other side. But it somehow didn't feel like that. And a few years later, I studied with Brian Weiss in America and learned to become a past life regression therapist. And what I learned there and what I'm doing now in past life regression sessions is just absolutely fascinating. It is so clear that people come and go back and forth, that there is not just one, but many lifetimes. But the first time I came across this idea very, very clearly was in this reading with a psychic medium, because he said, there is your grandfather's here, and he says you need to read a book. Somebody around you is reading this book, and it will answer many of your questions. And the person reading this book is called Cosima or something like that. That's what it sounded. Well, my sister is called Cosima. And she was reading a book at the time called Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. She even gave Mum and me a copy because she thought it was so amazing that we really should read that. Conversations with God. Nothing was further from what I thought could in any way be true, but a title than a title like that. So I completely ignored it. But of course, with this recommendation from the other side, from my grandfather, who had passed away before that book actually had been written, I thought maybe it's time to read it. And I have this very worn, battered old copy, which I really cherish, because that is the very copy that I read when I first started reading Conversations with God. And in there is a signature from Neale Donald Walsch, who I met a few years later on a retreat that was organized by Alternatives, and the senior director of Alternatives, Venetia, is here tonight as well. So wonderful having you here, and thank you so much for kind of pushing me these years ago to go to this retreat with Neale Donald Walsch, so I could tell him the story. But I also could tell him that this book changed a lot, because it is all about the idea of reincarnation. And things got so difficult for me after the bankruptcy that about a year or so after this experience, this reading with this medium, I really didn't want to carry on to struggle anymore. So I was seriously contemplating to end my life. And the reason why I didn't go through with this was this very book, because it made one thing relatively clear. If we don't experience what we are meant to experience in one life, then the universe has a way to send us back. And we need to go through it in one shape or another again. And that is definitely something I didn't want to do. So I thought I better get through it this time, no matter how difficult it is. This is honestly what I went through. And so I'm incredibly grateful to have had this experience, the book, and being able to say thank you to Neale Donald Walsch for that. But there was one thing that I found puzzling. The book, or not just this book, but the various books he wrote afterwards, basically state that we reincarnate again and again and again. We have a lifetime as a woman, and then another lifetime as a man. Maybe in a difficult relationship, experiencing it in one lifetime from the angle, through the lens of the woman, in the other lifetime through the lens of the man. We may be a soldier. We may fight in war in one lifetime. We may be shot. We may be killed in another lifetime. We may be rich in one life. We may be poor in another one. We may be in Europe in one. We may be in Africa in another. We may be in Antarctica. Do you live there? I think somewhere there in another lifetime. We may be in America. We belong to an indigenous group. We belong to kind of the mainstream social class of a country. We may be an outsider in another lifetime. We may have to flee because we cannot live where we used to live or where we were born. It is extraordinary looking at life and at many lives in this way. And of course, it says a lot about this very lifetime, where I identify as this gray-haired, middle-aged, white, German-born guy with who now lives in England and just can't get rid of his strong German accent. So this is kind of the self-identification. But of course, when we go deeper, there is much more to us. And we can explore that through past life regression, and we'll talk about that in other sessions as well. But what I found fascinating is that in this book and in these books, there was no element of judgment. There was only an element of, in one life, I look at it from one point. In another life, I look at it from another point. We go to extremes. We want to experience things. We climb mountains. We run fast bikes. We are the best warrior. We experience pain, very deep pain. We experience debilitating illnesses. We experience passings. We lose people. All this we experience. And of course, after this life, we all kind of back together. So there's only an experience. But there is another aspect to that, because whatever we do, whatever we create, influences the world that is made of energy. And this influence is called karma. So we influence the world by what we do. And we create karma. Karma, again, is not judgmental. It is simply a description that with everything we do, with every action, with every thought, we create karma. We have an imprint. And if the imprint leads to difficulties, somehow we need to open this up. We need to energetically dissolve this. And often we do that in the next lifetime or in next lifetimes. And again, it's not a punishment. It is simple energy theory. Energy changes, but energy doesn't get lost. So what is created, if it's something negative, if it's a blockage, it needs to change. And we need to change it. The simplest way to change, well, not the simplest, but the most profound way, the most guaranteed way to change negativity is through love and forgiveness. But in order to be able to do that, we need to feel the love and forgiveness inside. So we do come back and we look at life in many ways. Why do we do that? It's beautifully presented in many, many books, but it's quite clear that there is a whole structure within this. And the structure was channeled to me when I was in California, in LA last year. I tried so many things that didn't work out. In the end, I was so entirely frustrated. And I just thought, why is this all happening? And what came through was because you were meant to learn. and will tell you how the universe is really structured. So I was told about the 7 different levels of existence in the universe, and there was another video where I also explained that. I think it's called The Answer to Every Problem or Every Question in the World, and I also gave a talk again at Alternatives in London about this subject. So they basically told me, when I say they, it's my spirit guides. They told me that there are 7 levels. There is the 7th level, which is basically who we really are. It is the core of the world. It is pure consciousness. It is, some religions would call it God, and then probably would struggle with the idea when I say we are this. What I want to say is there is the original source, the creative force, the creator, whatever we want to call it, the origin of everything. So this is the pure consciousness, pure energy, everything that is. Stephen Hawking would call that as the origin of all energy. And then all that is wants to gain experiences. How do we gain an experience if there is no opposite? It is impossible. How can we experience beauty if there is no ugliness? How would we know it's beautiful? How can we experience happiness if there wasn't sadness? How can we experience individuality if everything is connected? So that was the original thought that started the creation, to experience something, to individualize something so that we can look at ultimately ourselves from different perspectives. So we need to then go into different roles and so on. That was the whole idea. And this idea is the 6th level. The 6th level is the structure, is the idea. So how do we create the structure of this experience? One could call it maths. One could call it the laws of the universe. One could call it sacred geometry. So this is the idea that is there. And then the 5th level is the different ways to explore what we want to explore. And I've talked about that recently because it's quite fascinating. It makes a lot of sense to look at this level as the level of archetypes. The archetype of the explorer, the archetype of the achiever, the archetype of the warrior, the archetype of the caregiver, the archetype of the lover, the archetype of the person who understands, the archetype of the inventor, the archetype of the scientist. All this is there. And yes, I can just see vibrations is a keyword. Yes, so these are different vibrations. One could also call these archetypes the archangels, because this is really, and that was told to me and I was just gobsmacked because it made so much sense. So they are the archetypical forces. Whether we use this, whether we use the Enneagram, whether we use the Jungian archetype, so all sorts of kind of ways to understand that, but these forces are there. And then these forces start playing. And it's not that there is one force and there is another force, but these forces then come together in different constellations and go into the 4th level, what we often call the spirit world, where my Uncle Alfred was saying hello from, where my grandfather was saying hello from. So there we have individuality. We have individual spirit beings, and they then have these archetypical forces in different constellations, and decide. Well, there's a lot going on that level. It's incredible, but they at some stage decide to play something out in a set constellation for a certain time in a physical shape. And this is the three-dimensional world that we are experiencing right now in a physical form. So this is what we call life. It is the experience of being in a body. And of course, it comes with many restrictions. We can be in one place, but not in another place. In order to develop, in order to have more people, we need to have sex. We need to interact, call it that way, with the opposite gender. So we need to bring all these together. We then start at some stage questioning. We question who we are. We question our bodily abilities. We may even question our gender. We question pretty much everything. And all this is experience. The experience is not just on the level of humans. The experience is on the level of animals as well. The experience is on the level of nature. On every level, in this three-dimensional world, there is experience, and we experience through emotions. If we didn't have emotions, we wouldn't experience. So this is basically the setup of the universe. And then there is the second level, which is the level of nature, like the plants and water and so on. And then there is the first level, which is the level of the hardware, of the physical, the stones, the minerals. Again, the kind of structure of this three-dimensional shape. And all this is how the universe is created. So reincarnation almost falls a little bit short when we look at the concepts, because we just look at going back between the third and the fourth level in different ways. But of course, there's the influence from the fifth level, and there are the ideas on the sixth level, and in every single level, there is the connection to the seventh, to the origin, because the origin is never disconnected from the creation, because this is impossible. We cannot take it apart. We cannot tear it apart. We have different vibrational levels, but the consciousness is in everything. So whether we call it I'm so sorry about my itchy nose. I was so shiny that I put some powder on that. Now it's itching. This is the experience that we are having. We are in this three-dimensional world. We are going to the fourth level. We have these archetypical forces in there, and we experience. And we have done that for a very, very long time. There is no judgment. And yet, did we enjoy it? Being massacred? Being raped, being amputated, losing our minds, losing our sight, losing friends and family. All this has been part of the experience for a very, very long time. But now the question is, have we not had enough of this negativity? Is it possible to still experience, but primarily in positive, more loving ways? If I'm honest, I feel this is why Reiki came into the world 100 years ago, 1922. suddenly there is this direct connection to the seventh level. Reiki is another word for the seventh level. The light, the connection to the above, to the purity, to the origin. That's why so many people call Reiki source energy. So we can connect directly to where it's all from, and there is no negativity. There's just purity and love. Love because everything's connected. And this is the idea of love. Not romantic love, which is an aspect of love, but again, a limited one, but unconditional love. This is the true force in the universe. And in Reiki, we can experience that and we can utilize it. And this is what we are doing when we practice Reiki. Whether we use it for ourselves, we use it as a lifestyle, we bring it into every aspect of our life, or we use it as a Reiki practitioner in private practice, in hospitals, and so on. We always work with love. We always work with unconditional love. And this direct connection to the universe. And this is the idea behind the Reiki revolution, that if more people experience the love and beauty, maybe we can let go of the negativity, of the sadness, of the destruction. We can experience things in a positive way. We can experience the joy of saving the world rather than the thrill of destroying the world. And there's so much to do that it is quite a thrill to do that as well. It's definitely not boring. So this is the idea that I believe Reiki can help us experience. So it turns from a theoretical idea to the idea of experience. So we understand the concept, but suddenly we can feel it. We can feel the love. And there's the question, isn't that what the word Reiki means? Absolutely, Reiki. Rei is the spiritual aspect, the source, and Ki is the energy that we are having and experiencing, and the energy that can increase. We can raise the energy. It's higher vibration energy, right to the top. When Mikao Sui was on Mount Kurama in 1922, and had this experience of just seeing light, just feeling love, being completely connected with the universe, he said, this is Reiki. He just used the word that is used for the highest vibration in the universe, because that's the experience he had. So it's the system of Reiki, of course, is the system that he then created, but the experience is our connection to the very, very high level, the origin of the universe. And this is what we can feel every time we connect to Reiki. So when we think about the idea of reincarnation, maybe it's time to think of the idea, how can I create more positive incarnations next time for me and everybody else? It's fascinating to spend a morning in medieval France with a client here. I had a lady recently who went to England, and then she went to ancient Egypt, and I've been in so many past life regressions myself. It's just fascinating to explore and experience all this and to learn from that. And yes, I really think we can learn from that. And what we can learn is we can change things for the better. We have the power. I created a workshop, but when I say it's not even correct, because that was really very, very clearly channeled, called Your Unique Purpose. And this is all about another aspect of reincarnation. There is the idea to just understand the concept that we go back and forth, that nobody is lost, that we continue, our loved ones are in the spirit world, we reconnect with them. We can already feel a connection now, but of course, after death, we are all there together again, and that is absolutely beautiful. So it's the general concept and the idea that we can also change something, and we can learn, and there's certain aspects and viewpoints we use in this experience. But reincarnation also means I am here at this time in world history. And that is not a coincidence. I have certain talents. I have certain shortcomings. I have had lots of experience in this life. And I had lots of experiences in previous lifetimes and karmic connections. So this equips me perfectly to make the world a better place now, but in my very individual way. I'm absolutely certain that we all brought with us exactly what we need to have an impact. And the fact that you are here right now and you're listening, and that you are practicing Reiki, and that you're open to these things means that this is exactly why you have come here. But we need to find our exact path, mission, purpose, abilities. And this workshop is a 3-hour workshop on the 17th of September that you can find. Let me just see. I think I have that here, that you can see at the website reikiscienceacademy.com/unique purpose, or you just scroll up and down, you'll find it there on the homepage. And I also will send another email out closer to the time. It's on Saturday the 17th, and you can also follow that as a replay. And that is entirely experiential, one exercise after the other, being guided by Reiki, using the intuition that we can get to find our unique place. And I tend to find once we do that, we live a happier life because we live a more meaningful life. We have found our place, and it may be our place in the family. It may be our place in the work environment. It may be that we need to change something, and we know that, and we've known for quite some time. But I also find often the intuition we are getting in these exercises can be different from what we expected. And suddenly it makes sense, not just our unique talents, but also our unique shortcomings. And this combination, this unique combination that makes us in this lifetime, shows us why we are here and makes us absolutely perfect for the role that we are here to fill. And once we do that, the world can already become a better place. We don't need to wait for another incarnation. We can use it right here, right now, because we are always connected. And Reiki gives us this beautiful reassurance that we are. I would like to invite you for a few moments to feel this very connection just now, and then to reach out to everybody on this broadcast tonight and feel the connection and share Reiki, because it gets more powerful when we share it. We are all connected anyway. So when we tap into this connection, into this interconnectedness, then we get much more powerful. It's not just our individual vibrations, but it's returning to the core of the universe, to love and oneness. So the more we work together, the more we work together with Reiki, the more powerful it gets, and the more we can change this world. So let's just connect to Reiki. I would just like to invite you to bring your hands together for a moment, or however you usually connect to Reiki, and just set your intention that you are connecting to Reiki now. And just feel the connection. Just feel the love. And of course, this force is what helps us to bring the change into our lives and more and more into lives of other people and really raise the vibrations of the entire planet. And now let's share this connection with everybody on this broadcast live or at any replay. This is already a glimpse of that life doesn't end with death. Because when we connect to Reiki, we go on a level that is beyond time, beyond space. We feel a connection to each other no matter where we are and to the entire universe. I find that death really loses the fear that it often has for us. So with this connection, just set your intention now to connect with everybody on this broadcast or on the replay. You may just want to open your hands and feel the connection. If you've learned the distant or connection symbol, you can just draw this and utilize that to feel the connection, the community even stronger. And in this moment of being connected, just sense that you are sending Reiki to everybody. You're connecting with everybody. And of course, you're also receiving Reiki at the same time from everyone. Let's just surrender to this power of universal energy and let it help us to gain more strength, more clarity, more peace, light, happiness, and healing. If we take our self, our desires, our ego out for a moment and just really surrender to Reiki, it can get so much more powerful and we can feel the connection to others even more. Just allow Reiki to be completely present. Let go of the past and of any worries about the future. Just be right here, right now, completely connected. And just for a few more moments, let's really just immerse in Reiki, allowing it to fill every fiber of our physical and our energetic being. And then just bring your hands together and take a moment to thank Reiki. Gratitude is a great way to raise our vibrations as well. And then slowly come back into the here and now. Well, thank you for joining. Thank you for this beautiful Reiki share. Thank you for being open and contemplating and letting this inspire you to do more, to bring more Reiki into the world, to change your life, to change other people's lives. This is really what we need to do. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you at this workshop. If you can make it on the 17th or for a replay, I'm sure it's going to be a very, very momentous workshop to really find what we individually are here for at this incarnation. I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday when we will look more into the scientific side of Reiki, into the research. And by then we should have the paper out and send it to everybody already. And I'm going to present the world's first scientific proof that Reiki works on different vibrational levels. Just as we looked at these different levels in the universe, we can actually feel these levels in Reiki, and it could be proven. I worked together with a laboratory in Switzerland. It's already a few years ago, but I haven't really published this as much. It is part of the Reiki Science Practitioner training, but there is going to be much more on the website, and I'm going to share it with everybody on Tuesday because it's just so important to use all tools to connect more, to bring more Reiki out, to get our confidence up so that really we do what we are meant to do, because there is a reason. There's a wonderful reason behind being here, behind this incarnation. So once again, thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for everybody who is listening to this in replay at some stage. And I am so looking forward to seeing you again. I have to find the button. Now I think I've found it. So have a lovely evening, day, wherever you are in the world. It's amazing that you're here, that you're sharing, and please be in touch. Please send any comments or any questions. This is really meant to build a community. So have a wonderful day and Reiki blessings.